How do you keep going when things are tough? There's some people who will absolutely fly with it, and there's people who will fall at the first hurdle. I became furious. You're not taking this from me.
Hi, I'm Katie Schofield and I'm a permanent makeup artist and trainer. I'm obsessed with all things lips, eyeliner and eyebrows. And as well as being a supplier, speaker and educator, I want to help you grow your business and reach permanent excellence. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi there, and welcome to this second episode of Permanent Excellence podcast, where we discuss everything to do with permanent makeup. And today we're going to talk about finding your why. It's a very, very windy, stormy day here in the UK. I've just got back from America. I'm tremendously jet lagged. So if I can't get my words out or I end up talking gobbledygook, then I'm really sorry. I really am still on American time. So I've had a fantastic time in America at the Microblading Institute Christmas conference. So I was a speaker there. It was fantastic fun. I don't know how happy I am to be back here. If you can hear the storm outside, it is raging. Everything's been cancelled today, so I'm sorry if it picks that up. But you know, sometimes you have to crack on, and we're going to talk about that a bit today as well. About how do you keep going when things are tough? How do you make that commitment to staying on the course of where you want to go? So I've been a trainer in permanent makeup for good few years now, but also I've been a beauty trainer for over 10 years, and I see people come in and out of the industry, and then there's some people who will absolutely fly with it, and there's people who will fall at the first hurdle. And what's the difference? You know, what's the difference between those people? The people who absolutely smash it, and the people who give up. And honestly, I can tell them in the beginning. I can tell a good one. I can always tell a good one. I'll get a vibe from them, and it's usually about what they say to me about why they're doing it, and you'll just think this person's gonna absolutely smash it. I can think of quite a few that have proved me right on that, and it's always because they've got this huge driving force to push them through. When I hear people say why they want to get into permanent makeup, it's often because it's a nice job, and it is. And you hear us talking all the time, oh, it's the best job in the world. That's fantastic when you hand people a mirror and they see the new eyebrows and the face lights up. It is, it's great, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. It's also really, really hard work. You know, you have to put in a lot of effort. We talked about that last time, about the sheer amount of effort and hours and days and weeks that go into forging a successful career in this. And actually, I'd say that easily half of the people that train don't do anything with it because it's probably harder than they thought. So I think that a lot of the time people get in this job. If I think about me, if I'm really honest, and I think it's good to be really honest, I was a beautician. I was really into eyebrows anyway. I loved doing eyebrows. I could have done them all day. I loved how they change people's face, tinting them, shaping them, waxing them, threading them, hennaing them. And so permanent makeup was the next logical step for me. But that is exactly how it felt, just like the next logical step. And definitely I had those thoughts of, well, if I just saw one microblading client a week, if I charged £300, that's £300 extra a week. That's a good motivation. That's a good motivation, an extra £1,200 a month. You think it's a good motivation, but actually when you have to put all this work in, £300 a week is probably not going to be enough motivation. It's a tough ride. You are going to have to put a lot of work in. And actually I'm seeing a lot of forums at the moment with people saying that things have become a lot more difficult. It's harder for people to get clients. It's also quite cyclical. This job is quite cyclical. You know, you go through booms and busts. Sometimes people will have quiet times in the summer because people are going away. They don't want to be healing while they're on the beach. December time, people are getting ready for Christmas. People don't want to be having healing brows or lips over Christmas, and so it can be quite cyclical. You'll tend to have booming periods, and then you may have quiet periods as well. And since COVID, I think a lot of people have found it has been a lot quieter. So there's all that stress of having to fill your books, and then you're also a content creator. It's not something I don't complain about. I love creating content. I wouldn't be here otherwise. You're also the cleaner, you're the accountant. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to keep your business ticking over. It isn't just doing eyebrows, and I think that we all fall into that trap in the beginning. So we're going to sit there and do pretty eyebrows. That's probably 20% of your job, is doing the thing. The other 80% is all the other stuff that goes with it. All the other stuff. Client acquisition, client retention, admin, all the other things that go with it, and the content creation, and making sure all those wheels are turning. So a lot of people do fall by the wayside. So the ones that stay the course, that I've spoken to, people that I've trained, or people that I know that are really successful, friends of mine who've done really well, they are people with a driving force behind them. Because we talk a lot about motivation, and motivation's a weird one. I was not motivated to get onto this podcast today. I wanted to do it, of course I did. It was in my head what I wanted to talk about, but actually coming and turning the heating on because I've been away and it's cold. The weather outside is about to blow the roof off. I've been up since 1 a.m. I'm not heavily motivated. I'm heavily motivated to put my slippers on, crawl under a blanket and watch telly. That's what I'm heavily motivated to do. So if you are relying on the motivation of doing pretty brows, that's going to run out. Motivation is a mood, and moods change. And so you cannot rely on the fact that you're going to have motivation all the time. Motivation to get your latex out and practice. Motivation to post on social media. How many of you sit there and go, oh God, I've got to post it. I've still not posted. Oh, I'll just chuck it in a before and after and that'll do. Rather than actually sticking to the content plan that you'd made about your ideal client and your content pillars, and you just throw that out. It'll do. Done is better than perfect, but motivation is lacking. And I hear that said to me all the time, particularly in the mentorship. I finished for the day, I've got the kids sorted, I just sit down and I think I've got to post things, and I just can't be bothered. And it's the people that still do it when they can't be bothered that make the most progress. Because motivation will come and go. And how are you going to keep yourself motivated through those leaner times, through those peaks and troughs of your business, when realistically at the end of the day none of us can be asked to do anything? I'm the same. I'm no different. I think I just have a good idea of what drives me forward. It's something that I spoke a bit about in America at this conference, and it's something that's becoming a bit of a story that I like to tell with regards lockdown, because we all struggled in that. If you were in business in beauty in this country, or I mean, we all struggled in all countries, but I know that we in the UK were hit really, really hard. That was tough to get through. That was really tough. And looking back now, had that not happened to me, I don't think I would be in this position that I'm in now, where I'm speaking on stages. I've got, I speak to 4,000 online students. I've got a mentorship program. I was doing brows. I was doing lips and liner, and 2020 was going to be my year. I keep saying 2020 was going to be my year. I can feel it. It's going to be my years when people are going to know who I am. No one's going to know who you are because you're going to be locked in. But actually, that is where people started to know who I was, because it was in that time that my why became even stronger. I talk about a time when we'd been closed for about 3 months and we were told we could open again. And really, I thought that I was at the end. I had nothing else to give. I had no more money. I had nothing else to give, no more strength to give. I was done. But we were going to open and it was going to be fine. It was going to be fine. And I went up to my clinic. I set up my tray for my first client in 3 months because I wanted everything to be right. And on the drive home, we had the news from Boris Johnson telling us that, no, we're not letting you open tomorrow. We had 15 hours notice. Don't get me started on what an absolute shit show that was. 15 hours notice, and it was like, no, you're not opening, and you're not opening anytime soon. And that is when I felt like all the wind was knocked out of me. And I didn't even get into the house. I just got out of my car and sat on my front doorstep, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried because I was like, I haven't got anything else to give. I was so wrong. I had so much more to give, because in that moment there, sitting on the step crying, I became furious. Like, furious that we were being treated like this, but other businesses weren't. You know, you could go to a restaurant, men could have the haircut, but beauticians, no. And it just felt so unfair and so wrong, because we were put in the same category as strip clubs. And I remember being furious about it. Like, you're not taking my business. I have worked really hard thinking about all the hours I'd put in, all the weeks and years on latex. I was like, I'm not losing this. And I was really angry with myself as well, because I was like, look at what you've done. You've let yourself get into a position where one thing can take your entire business. Your business is only face to face. And so when we finally were allowed to open, everyone was really happy. I'm not saying that I wasn't really happy, but I'd learned a lesson. I'd learned a huge lesson. And I was like, you can never be in this situation again. So I looked around me and I saw everybody just sort of, oh, we're back taking clients. And I was like, that's not happening to me again. I am going online. And if I'm going to be closed for 11 months in my country, I'm making sure I'm in other countries. That was the first thing I was going to do, was become global. Which, you know, for a girl from Yorkshire, wasn't really on my radar before COVID. But that was a lesson to me, because I was so angry about having everything I'd worked for taken by this situation, you know, but also by my own lack of foresight to really only have one stream of income. So that furiousness drove me more than anything has in my entire life. And that's when I would set up a camera in the corner of the room and I would do YouTubes, and I would just do them over and over and over again, relentlessly. You know, it was a weekend, didn't matter, I'm doing a YouTube. Don't feel great, doesn't matter, I'm doing a YouTube. You're not taking this from me. This podcast is sponsored by VIPMU, my very own mentorship program. If you want to see how I can help you push your business forward, then click the link below. So it was in that time that I kind of learned a lot more about myself. And had that not happened, I'm not sure that I would have been as pushed forward, because it was under duress that I fought back, whereas some people crumble and some people just carry on as they did before. But it changed me. And I was quite shocked, actually. This is what that tattoo is on my arm. I don't know if you can see it. If you've ever seen it, it's a cherry blossom. And it's not because it's pretty. It's actually an album cover from my favourite band, who I will mention, because I will mention them at any given opportunity. New Model Army from Yorkshire, who are a post-punk band started 43 years ago. And that was to remind me of how hard I worked in COVID, and to remember that under the worst situations, I shine. And that I never really wanted a tattoo on my arm. My back's tattooed, but I didn't always want something to be visible, but I wanted that to be visible. I wanted it to be a daily reminder of, don't you forget what you can do. So that's an album cover, because the song Today Is a Good Day pushed me through COVID to keep working. So, you know, at that 3 months, I thought I'd given everything. No, I had so much more to give. And I don't think I've ever stopped since then. And it was in that time as well that I discovered two books that I recommend wholeheartedly, but both by the same author, Darren Hardy. He's the editor of Success Magazine. I really like these books because I find them very easy to digest. The messaging is really clear. It's just very easy to understand, but quite powerful books. And the first one is The Compound Effect, and the second one is The Entrepreneur's Rollercoaster. The Compound Effect changed my life for sure. But I think it was in the Entrepreneur's Rollercoaster where he was talking about finding your why. And I always thought your why had to be good, because it sounds like it. Find your why. Find your motivation. It's my children. My children's faces, putting food on the children's table. So my mother will be proud of me. Those things are not enough for me. I needed something else. And I think that I always thought it was a little bit, like, I didn't want to admit that fury was the thing that drove me, because it sounds negative, and it sounds like I'm a furious person, and generally I'm not. I'm a very positive person, and I'm very forward thinking, and I act decisively. So fury didn't seem like a thing you should admit to keeping you going. And actually, it was in that book where Darren Hardy talked about the motivation. And if your motivation, your why is kind of negative, it's usually down to the fact that it's the opposite of a positive, which it was for me. It's not fair. I'm furious because this isn't fair. Not only is this whole situation not fair, but also we're being treated unfairly. You know, we're not being given the same rights as barbers. You know, a man can get his hair cut, but a woman couldn't get her eyebrows done. A man could get a shave, but a woman couldn't get her eyebrows done. And that's not fair. And so it actually came out of this real sense of morality, of right and wrong. And it was because that was wrong, I was furious against it. So it was a positive. And I was suddenly like, bing, light bulb. That's, oh my God, it's okay to be motivated by fury. And it comes down to two kinds of motivation, push and pull. And I'm very much push motivated. So pull is when you are being attracted to things. So the money or the big house, you're pulled towards that. Whereas it's not always financial, but you know, you might be pulled towards the fame or people knowing who you are. But the push is being pushed away from things, and that is me, definitely. I'll show you. I'll show you I can do it. I'm very much more motivated from push. You know, if someone says, you know, if you do this job and you can have a Gucci handbag, I couldn't care less. You know, a handbag's a handbag. Yes, nice. Some are nice, some are not. If that's your thing, great. But I'm much more motivated by proving people wrong who didn't think I could do it. And again, that sounds negative, but it's because they didn't think I could do it that I felt that I was being judged unfairly. That comes from a sense of morality that pushes me towards it. And it gave me this, reading these books gave me this like real acceptance to say, no, that is what motivates me. Everybody that had done me wrong, I'd had businesses that had been attacked in the past, and in lockdown I just thought, if I don't get through this, all those people will win, and I can't let that happen. So that was my driving force, and still is when I don't want to do things. So I'm just going to give you an example. Talking about the weather, I do 10,000 steps a day, every day, and I have done for months and months and months and months. And in summer, it's a joy. I live in a very nice part of the world. It's a joy to be out in the bluebells, listening to the birds, walking in the nice place that I live. At the moment, it's hell, and it has been for months. So it's not that I have little motivation to do 10,000 steps. I have no motivation to do 10,000 steps. None at all. The benefits of me doing that is that I'm moving, my joints are moving, I'm knocking on a bit, you know, I'm 46 now. I want to keep active, I want to keep fit. It's really good for me to get outside in the fresh air, it's really good for me to see greenery, it's really good for me to decompress my head after running 3 businesses. These are all the good things, but they're not enough to push me to do it when it's like this. None of that is. But being in a challenge and the idea of failing that challenge and all those months' work going to waste is enough to get me out in that, because I just can't fail on it because of all the work I've put in. I don't want to lose it, because I'm not losing a day, I'm losing months. I'd have to start again. If I'm not going out in that, I'm on the treadmill, and that's really boring. It's boring staring at a wall, it really is. So I've got zero motivation to do that. So I really need something to fire me up to do that every day, so that I then get all those wonderful benefits of it, But those benefits themselves will not get me out in a storm. They just won't. It's not enough. It needs to be something that's going to push me. And for me, it's that challenge. It's having that challenge. It's having that green line light up every single day. So yeah, walking is my big one for that, because I'm at the moment, the fields are muddy, the weather's horrendous, it's cold and it's dark. So there will be times, months in your business where you're going to struggle to be motivated to put the work in that you need to do to keep going. So you need to find your why. You need to find why you want to do this. And when people say, I just think it's a nice thing to do, it just seems like a nice job, that's not going to keep you going. It just being a nice job, it needs to be something deeper, something that really resonates with you, whether it's a positive thing, whether it's something that fills you with rage or injustice, or and I think about one of our students. I knew she was going to do well the minute I first spoke to her, and she talked about, I want my kids to be proud of me, I want them to look at me, my daughters, and know that they can do this as well. And when I listened to her, I was 100% on board. I was like, yeah, you do, you really do, and I want to help you do this, because I bought into her why. It was so strong and so visceral that, you know, her daughters looking up to her and going, my mum did this, was just such a strong and positive why that I was fully convinced by her. So thinking about what it is, because your motivation to do things is that famous quote, if there was a plank of wood between two buildings and you know, and there was a £20 note on the other side, would you cross that plank to get it? And you'd be like, of course I wouldn't. I could fall like 20 stories for 20 quid. No, I don't think so. But if your child was on the other side and you had to rescue them, you would run across it, because the why is bigger. The why is much more bigger and much more emotional. And that's why I think that people that get in it for money, even if it's not enough, that money has to mean something. It has to mean something. If it means not getting evicted, yeah, that's more visceral. But if it's just, I just want fancy a nice life, it's probably not going to be enough to push you through. So finding and being honest about your real motivation, and thinking about it long and hard often, will definitely be the difference that pushes you through. So when I think about mine, it is a sense of injustice. It isn't all about lockdown. It's always been based on a sense of justice and injustice and morality and feeling that things are unfair, or that's definitely, I'm a push motivated person that is fired up by that. And actually, when I think about my training company, that's called Pure Ambition, it's a nice name, Pure Ambition, yeah. Actually, those two words were taken from New Model Army songs, purity and ambition, particularly ambition. Another one you can go and listen to. And that absolutely is the reason that I named my company. That was after that song. I mean, it's about a girl who is in a Yorkshire town, and she's like, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. I want to go and do something with myself. And there's a wonderful line in it where they say she's smiling for pictures in the paper, but inside she's got this, where she lies in bed with racing dreams hot as blood, and she's got this like real driving fury. And I loved that. It resonated with me so much. So Pure Ambition was born out of my desire to be pushed forward with that absolutely unwavering determination, and I loved it. So that's where Pure Ambition came from, and I love it when my students have got that on the bag, and I'm thinking, yeah, repping New Model Army, bit of post-punk. So these things have been, integral in my business, and I like to remind myself, just like with my tattoo, of why I do this. Because I want a long career, and I'm not going to do that without having some big reason. So what is your why, and how can you use that to your advantage? Because a lot of us work alone, so it's really hard to keep yourself pushed when it's quite easy to let yourself off the hook. So I tend to, there's two people that work for me. I mean, I know I do have team members, but in my role, there's the boss and then there's the employee, and they're very, very different people. My employee wants to kick back. She wants to put her feet up. She wants to scroll on YouTube, drink cups of tea, listen to music, and just doss about, really. And the boss, my boss, never expects her employee to have a day off, is absolutely driven and motivated, bit of a ball breaker, really. And these two conflict quite a lot, because there'll be the me that's like, you must keep pushing, and then there's the me that's like, oh, do I have to? Do I really have to? And I think my boss knows how to motivate my employee with the why. So I'll sit there going, oh, you don't have to do your YouTube today. Good, because I'm a bit tired. I'll put my feet up. You put your feet up. Okay. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll probably do it another day. Do you remember when Boris Johnson laughed at all the beauticians? Right, I'll do it. And it's like she knows how to motivate that worker to get her up and moving, because that's those are little things that will take me back to that time when I was crying on the doorstep, thinking I was going to lose everything. So I do use it to keep myself focused. I really do. It's fine. I'll do it. So have a think about what your why is, why you started this, why you got into this career, and what's pushing you forward, what you really want to achieve deep down, not just the, oh, I think this would be nice for this reason, it'd be nice to make women feel better. Yeah, but why? Where's that coming from? And really sort of double down on that, and just think over the next week or two if that pushes you forward to just post that extra bit of content when you know that you feel knackered and you can't be bothered at the end of the day. We've all been there. Because that is the thing that's going to get you over that finish line. If there is a finish line. I don't think there ever is. I think we're always moving forward all the time. Bigger goals, but it's having that why that's going to make you push forward. So I've really enjoyed speaking to you today. It'll be a couple of weeks. We've got some new guests being lined up as well. And I'll look forward to speaking to you next time. I'm probably going to go to bed now. I'm not, am I? Remember when Boris Johnson laughed at all the beauticians?